Hey guys, welcome back to another Sade Live. We got two back to back here. Because there's stuff going on. For a long time there wasn't stuff going on. Because we were amidst the acolyte and not that much to talk about. But now we have tons of, one thing I want to talk about, and then two new things that have kind of come out and have happened in the last day and a half, 2 days. So, starting off number one, Disney has actually gone ahead and removed all of the Acolyte merchandise from the Disney store, which is used to be called Shop Disney. But yeah, it's all completely gone. They've, probably thrown all of it away or something. It's out. The Black Series figures, the shirts, the mugs, all that, it's all gone. So that's a massive win. And a huge move for Disney to do that really shows that they're starting to understand what really needs to be done when you have situations like this. To leave stuff like kind of dangling and not completely getting rid of it, it leaves a lot of gray area weirdness, with like having the show be canceled but still kind of profiting off of it and making all these different pieces of merchandise, and it's just messy, and you don't want to do that. Like, if you cancel a show, just sell what you have and call it quits, right? For a show like that where it was a failure, because if you're spending too much money, in merchandise for a show no one wanted to watch, right? Like, that's not going to serve you well. So that was a massive move that I thought never would have expected Disney to do. That's just huge. But they are doing, a bunch of tax cuts. They're really trying to lower kind of the amount they're spending yearly. So they're doing a lot of, they're switching things around and really trying to lower their prices, because it's just they're spending way too much money and not making it back, because a lot of their projects, in the recent days have just not been good. So they're paying for it, like they're realizing now that people don't want to watch trash. They're still coming out of the hole of Obi-Wan and Boba Fett and Mando season 3, which all slowly just underperformed as time went on. They all just kind of collapsed. So we're seeing that now, and they're seeing that now, and they're like, well, maybe these guys aren't crazy, and maybe we should be smart about the way we're spending our money. So both those things, mainly, I wouldn't even say it's us, because we've said, we don't want anything as bad as Seagulls. So I don't know how much of an impact we have, but I'd say we have a little bit, because we're discouraging people from watching the show. So in a way, we have a very slight kind of influence on the decision, but it's all statistics. If this show had been successful and had made a bunch of money and whatever, we'd get a season 2, right? Like, regardless, like, are you really? Obviously. But no, they're not, because it statistically is awful and no one wants it. The real fandom, the real Star Wars fans don't want it. They don't want to see it. Which brings me to my next thing. So now that we got the cancellation confirmed, and we got the merchandise removal, all the Disney shills, not even Disney shills anymore, because now they're going against Disney. It's like weird, because we're swapping. Because with the D23 announcements and stuff, I'm starting to appreciate, that they're trying hard now, and they're really trying to make good content, on all aspects, with Marvel, with Star Wars, with their theme parks. I'm really seeing like a turnaround, and that's amazing. And I'm so glad that they're finally trying, and that they realize the way they've been doing things is just not turning out well. So, I'm excited to see what comes. But yeah, it's cool now because we were the ones to really stick with the real Star Wars, and now we're winning, and we're getting what we deserve, which is real Star Wars. I feel like that's coming our way slowly. It's going to take time, and it's not going to be George level, obviously, because nothing will be, but we could get things as good as Mando Season 2 now. I feel like we could get Andor Season 2, could really be incredible and 20 times better than Season 1. We're getting Ahsoka Season 2. We're getting Mando and Grogu, which looked insane. We're getting, Skeleton Crew, which is totally different and new. I didn't like the suburbia part, but the other pieces looked pretty cool. So I'm interested to see where that goes and how, Goonies and Star Wars works. And, getting to see the Captain EO, pink flying alien thing, that was super cool too, because I had watched that as a kid, in Disneyland multiple times. So that was really cool to see. So there's like all these things now that I'm seeing, in the new Marvel rides, and I just am seeing a turnaround. I'm seeing that they're actually willing to put forth effort now and like not just pump out content for money. I feel like they're legitimately trying now, which is great. And I hope all the projects end up great. I do, but we'll see. But yeah, my point being is, the ex-Disney Shills, I'd say that, what the heck even are they? Because this isn't shilling. They're fighting against a decision Lucasfilm made and actually being very toxic to them too, toxic to them and hating them for canceling this show. So I wouldn't even call them well, yeah, I guess we'll just call them Shills. Yeah, let's just continue to call them Shills for the rest of time. The fake fans, right. So the fake fan Shills are furious, and I tell you, furious that this show got canceled. And they are so furious that the real fans are getting what they want, that they are calling us incels, they are calling us toxic misogynists, they have been sending death threats to people, they have been sending death threats to Disney. They are insane. This has gotten to a level that's just absurd. They're going after everybody who hasn't stood by the Acolyte and said, oh yeah, this horrible show that destroys everything Star Wars stood for is bad. They're going after all of those people, including me, including Theory, including all of us, the whole crew that's really been speaking out against this show and really telling the truth about the situation. We're being completely targeted and we never said anything about them. That's the funny part, is when this first started, we were just like, yes, it's canceled, hallelujah, we got what we wanted, we were like, great. We never attacked Shills. We were never like, eat dirt because you now don't get a second season of your show, you blah blah blah. We never said anything like that. And this really shows what the reality of the situation is on, the toxic people in the fandom and the toxic people attacking. It's them, because we never attacked them. We just were like, hallelujah, it's done. And, we were like, we won. We got what we wanted. That's great. Then they come along and they attack us and they start sending death threats and they start being completely psychotic online and on Twitter. And it just shows you, like, these guys, they're fools. Like, they go walk outside every day. And again, I have a full list of all these people, not written lists, but in my head, of all the people who are Shills online and on Instagram and YouTube, everything. And every single one of them has just been horrible and completely immature in dealing with this. There is no way that you have enjoyed this show thoroughly the entire time. I don't buy it. And the fact that you are defending this garbage piece of media that objectively is terrible, and you are defending it with your life, and you are sending threats to people over the show, isn't going to make Leslie Headland want you to go, isn't going to make Leslie Headland want to, go up and smooch you. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, it's just, I don't understand. Like, why are they doing this? Because they're not blaming Lucasfilm, I don't think. They're just blaming Disney, which is ridiculous, because Lucasfilm has a lot of say in a decision like that. So that's like ridiculous. You're gonna attack Disney, not attack Lucasfilm. Like, what are you doing? Like, yeah, I don't understand that. And so that's number one, is they're, being not good. Like, I've never in my life, or never will, send a death threat over an opinion. That's just insane. Will I call you an idiot for being an idiot and promoting idiotic things sometimes? Sure. But am I going to go and start calling you incels and misogynistic whatever? No. Because that's just ridiculous. That's, like, insane. Like, I'm not offended, but, at all, because I'm like, they're them. That's how all of them act, I'm used to it. But, is it concerning for themselves, in their shoes? Am I looking in their shoes? Yes. Because you should not act that way, That's just ridiculous. Like, honestly, I've been, like, standing by this decision the whole time. I stood by all the D23 stuff. Like, this just shows that I don't just hate everything. I do appreciate things when they're to be appreciated, but I also talk out against things that are just objectively garbage. Like, if we weren't speaking out about the Acolyte guys, they might have reconsidered. They might have been like, called together their cult, and been like, all right, guys, what should we do? But no, they saw that not just us. You can't go say Star Wars Theory. You can't go say Sade Video. You can't go say Geeks and Gamers and Nerd Roddy. You can't bring up the same 5 names constantly. It's not all because of us. It's general people who have watched the show simultaneously and unanimously agree it is complete garbage. The only people that like this show are people who are affiliated with Lucasfilm or Disney. They're the only people, and I'm sorry to say that, but it's true. All the people who have been online saying they like the show and have gone ballistic on fans and attacked fans who dislike the show were involved in the, Bohemian Grove Lucasfilm cult meeting that happened, which I don't believe was wholesome at all. I don't know what was going on there. That is super suspicious, that entire thing. I don't think it was just some friendly meeting at all. They have not disclosed any of that information. So that's very suspicious. I have no idea what the heck was going on in there. If they practically told them in there, that you have to like the show, I would not be surprised. That is cult behavior. That is Bohemian Grove cult behavior. Would not be surprised if that occurred. So starting off there. So all these guys, what was I saying before? Bohemian Grove cult meeting. Yeah, all these guys basically, they've been to that. They've been in their cult meeting where they were required to like the show. They get a bunch of free Lucasfilm gift boxes and merchandise. They go to premieres. So at this point, they feel like they're like the Lord's disciples. They're like, oh, I get everything no one else does. I'm Mr. or Miss Lucasfilm, or who knows whatever the hell their pronouns are at this point. But all of that crap, and at this point, all they're doing on their platforms is advertising. I'm going to give one example, of one of them. There's this one influencer, Carly King. She literally promotes nothing other than Walt Disney Company owned brands. And it's never a review, a critique, any of that. It's none of that. What it is, oh, new show, OMG, I can't wait. I look at her stories every day. OMG, I can't wait. Or this comes out December 16th. Or OMG, I'm gonna cry. Or, oh, look at the new Star Wars board game I got delivered to me for free because I'm part of a cult. That crap. That is the crap I'm talking about. That's just insane. Like, it's just, it's not human. I don't feel the soul in that content. There's no genuine feeling or emotion. She just repeats everything Lucasfilm tells her to do, reposts everything Lucasfilm posts, and follows all the trends that her and the other people do all the time. Just like when there was that one girl on Theory Talks who was, or I think it was Theory Talks. Yeah, it was like Sadia Khan. She's from a different part of the world where women just didn't engage with Star Wars. Just totally did. She never had seen it before. She wasn't trying to offend anybody by saying that. She just didn't know. Because culturally where she is, that just isn't a thing. But here, of course it is. And I love that. I have nothing against that. But in her culture and where she lives, that's not the case. Just she said, you know, I don't know a lot of women that like Star Wars. You know, women don't like... She said that. Did Theory say, oh, yeah? No. He didn't say that. He didn't say shit. You know? And then, of course, what do all of them do? They go online and they make those stupid, corny videos with the audio, you know, showing that Theory's toxic and look how much of a woman Star Wars fan I am, all that crap. So she did partook in that. She also reposted Amanda Stenberg's horribly cringy rap video where she called all white people racist and, you know, all that crap, because she calls every fan racist and homophobic, and she's just a maniac, a complete freaking maniac. She reposted that, and this is what I'm talking about. Like, she literally, I'm sure, gets texts from Lucasfilm saying, you need to post this, you need to post that. She does. Or they've told her, you need to repost X, X, and X, and this, and that. Because it just doesn't make sense. You know, like, there is nothing genuine in what she posts. It is all advertising. There has never been a critique of my review of blank. Never. Ever. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, it is not normal. And never once has she ever given anything an even slight critique. And that is not normal either. Nothing's perfect. You know, I'm not telling you to rip it apart. I love Mando. You know, I have nothing against Mando. And I'm going to talk positively about it. Okay. But there is no way with every single vision in Star Wars, or every piece of merchandise, that it's all amazing and perfect and wants to make you cry. That just is not possible. It's just not. I'm sorry. It's not. You know, I don't get how that could be. So, it is obvious, it is blatant, and it is clear that there are these people paid off by Lucasfilm to say what they say and do what they do. And this reaction to The Acolyte is unexpected because they never give their feelings on anything at all. So I'm very surprised by the way that they are acting about this. You know, what's his name? Kyle Katarn, you know, fake news Kyle Katarn, not the real badass Kyle Katarn from Legends. This YouTuber who, again, he just does reaction videos for his entire channel. That's all he does. He doesn't actually have any soul or substance to what he does. No, it's all just BS, you know, here and there. He had a rant, you know, where he basically was like, it's because they caved into all this racist, misogynist fans who hated the show and hated Amanda Stenberg. And I'm like, dude, these people need to just walk outside for a minute and actually talk to real fans. And this is where I'm going to transition to the next part of my video. Because we have all these negative things. We have all these people that aren't really fans, and they are paid off really for popularity with, you know, gifts and premieres and all that. They're not really fans. You know, and again, maybe what some of them used to be or secretly are in their heart, but they don't portray it. They're too weak to go out and tell the truth. They just want all the glory, which really makes them look like clowns to me. There's no respect or glory there, especially Star Wars Explained. Jesus, they are so far gone and like ridiculous. Like it, you might as well have Lucasfilm might as well have just bought them out. Like they have Lucasfilm people talking on their show all the time. Like that's not normal. Anyways, my point being is you have all those people who just want to call all the fans who've been with Star Wars since they were little kids and have had this fundamental relationship with the brand and with these characters their entire lives, like me. They look at all of us and they go, you guys need to stop talking because you guys are gonna, hurt our gifts and reputations and whatever. They're like, oh, don't talk. And that's their job. They have to be puppy to Lucasfilm. And these guys, they've lost the sense of what it means to being a fan. Being a fan isn't just saying, oh yeah, I love this, I love that. That's not what being a fan is. Being a fan is caring deeply about whatever your fandom is, your franchise, your whatever, all of that, That's what it is. So caring isn't just loving everything. It's also giving critique. It's giving feedback. It's being like, hey, this didn't work out. Here's what should happen. It's saying, hey, this was complete BS. This cannot happen again. That is being a fan. Just as much as liking things and loving things. That's what's most important because you're helping them know what kind of content to produce and what kind of content to create. Because it's true. Like, if you really want your franchise to be the best and to be the best it can be, critique is 100% necessary. And this is something that I've learned. Like, you just have to critique things sometimes. Even if it's not fun, you have to. But at the same time, you also have to give a lot of credit to the things that are done well, because then they see what you like. So then you work with other fans and you talk with other fans and you figure it out and you all kind of are simultaneously working together 24/7 to keep your franchise up. That is what being a fan is. Not just, I watched this episode. It was good. Yeah, guys, you should watch this episode. That's not being a fan. That's a robot. Like, you're a robot. You're hiding all your emotion. You're hiding all your opinions. You're hiding all of that because you're too weak and too scared. So that's terrible, and I hope if there's any of you out there, well, there probably isn't, because there's really only like 12 of them that are, big, and then there's a bunch of pretenders that really want to fit into that category, but can't and won't. But yeah, like I said, you look at these guys who attack us for us really being true fans, and they're just advertising for the company. They don't have any soul for Star Wars, like it's just, they're just like empty. Like, what? Tell me why you love the franchise. Why do you connect with it? Like, why? What do you think? What do you really think? It's like none of that. It's just soulless. These guys aren't fans. So when you hear them going around and talking their blatancy and just ridiculousness, don't look at that and say, oh, this is the Star Wars fandom. And I know this is a problem that I see, with a lot of, people on my team. Is they're like, man, this fandom is crazy. Like, this fandom, I don't know what's happening. Like this, how can these people say this? I'm like, well, they're not really fans. Then I explain the difference, and how real fans really care and how real fans really spend every second of every day in this franchise, no matter what, whether we're at home or not, we're not, even though we're not going out to every premiere and getting gift boxes, we care about the franchise 20 times more. Because, again, we give lots of positive feedback where it's needed, and we give lots of negative feedback where it's needed, because Star Wars has shaped us as people. It has made us, some of us filmmakers, like myself. I wouldn't be a filmmaker, a student filmmaker, if it weren't for Star Wars. I wouldn't. I don't know where I'd be. Star Wars was that for me. Those prequel bonus discs were that for me. Learning from George just was. Rick McCallum, seeing him work really showed, me what life's like as a producer, and I was just enthralled. I was like, I want to do this. This is amazing work. And seeing George in the writer's rooms, like, really, it's just, was one of the pieces of Star Wars, like, that really, it literally made my career. It made my career path. I wouldn't be on the path I'm at without it. That's just not a thing. That's thanks to Star Wars. That's the power of documentaries, man. People underestimate how documentaries can just completely influence and change your perspective on life. It just did. It swept me into this magic and this just new world that's on Earth, but it just felt like a different world to me. Like I'd never seen this before. It's like I was like a newborn again. Like I'd never seen this part of life ever, and I witnessed it, and I instantly connected, and I was like, well, this is it. I could make Star Wars, and now I'm here, and I'm like racking up experience like crazy. I'm working every day in film. I've done tons of shows. I've directed live shows, like all from just documentaries, and from loving Star Wars and knowing how much it has changed the world. That is why I'm where I am. That's why this channel exists. Star Wars has literally made me every step of the way since I was a kid. It has taught me resilience. It has taught me the power of trusting the Lord. 100%. That is a massive message in Star Wars. George said the Force is a metaphor for God in the Star Wars Archives book, in the prequels one. Like, that's a thing. And when I read that line, everything connected. Everything made sense. So I'm like, all right, there's like multiple layers of communication now. Like, this is how kind of God's speaking to me, is through the Force and through all these things. And that's just the biggest, best aspect of Star Wars to me, is the Force and all of that, and how like religiously accurate it is to my religion, and to just the morality of Star Wars, and how well conceived and well based it is. Like, the morals in Star Wars are real. They're human, and the values that are taught to be good are good, and the values that are taught to be bad are bad. And there's then, a bunch of gray values, which I really loved seeing in, like, Ahsoka, Baylan Skoll, or Kylo Ren. And, well, Kylo Ren was dark side, but, seeing the dark side from a different perspective, that was cool. Baylan Skoll, Ahsoka Tano, Cal Kestis, you saw everything from a much more gray perspective, and that was awesome. And you saw things that were wrong about them, and you saw things that were right about them. So even the morally gray stuff, it's not like, oh yeah, you should be morally gray, but it's like you take away lessons and messages from each character and their flaws and from their pros. It's just incredible. Like, genuinely, what has been crafted between the Jedi and the Sith, and now, the middle, it's just amazing. Like, honestly, on how just real it is. It is so real, and people don't get it. The Sith are a thing. The Jedi are a thing. The middle is a thing. The non-believers, that's a thing. Like, it is all so real. I can't even explain to you. Like, sure, we don't have lightsabers, and we don't have, we can't weaponize the Force. But other than that, all of the rest is there. It's a real thing. It's just fictionalized. That's what George did. He took from religions and from evil, and he fictionalized it, and he taught people religious messages through Star Wars so that it was lighter and easier to understand. And that was amazing. And he did it in a way where it was very solidly on God, but he called God the Force because he wanted kids to. I saw a quote somewhere, watched a video, I think it was an interview, where he said he kind of wanted to ease kids into that way of thinking and maybe thinking, what is the Force? Where does it come from? How does it exist? Is it real? All of that, those questions were meant to start from Star Wars. That's what he wanted to do because he knows the power of religion and the power of knowledge. Those are two of the things George has taught inevitably throughout all of Star Wars. Everything. Whether it's a book, a game, everything. Even if it doesn't involve the Force, well, everything involves the Force because it binds everything together, So that's not, everything is the Force, but even in projects where you don't see Jedi, you feel the Force still. Like in Mando, when he's having those flashbacks, and when he sees Grogu for the first time, you feel the Force around you. You see like how this guy who doesn't follow the religion still kind of acknowledges its existence and begins to really understand what this thing is. And everyone has that. Han has that. He slowly realized that the Force is a thing and that it's powerful and it's real, and it just, all of that is just massive. And it was huge for me to really realize how accurate and real it is. And it's more accurate and real than it states. But you know what it does take? It takes someone who can read through the lines. It takes someone who can analyze. And it takes someone who is dedicated and spends time to learn in order to realize this. A lot of people, the normies and stuff, they're just like, it's just a movie, it's just this, it's just... When really, it's more than that. And, that's one of the reasons why I love Star Wars so much, is it is so based in reality. Like, not even just religiously, but politically, and all the events that happen, a lot of that has happened. A lot of that. And a lot of it has kind of predicted what will happen in the future. With America right now, we're really at a point, I don't want to get too political, so I'm not going to spew names and everything, but in some people's perspective, we're at the point of, in episode 3, where Palpatine won't give up his emergency powers. Some people think that we're at that point. Or some people think that if another one gets elected, that we will be at that point. It's like, and you follow the story, and there are elements of politics that and events that have happened here that connect. And they make sense because history repeats itself. And George built on that and portrayed that. And that's, again, crazy. Like, the level of intelligence this man, like, he's just super, super smart. And that's one thing he taught me, too, is really to... He has a quote that says, learning how to make a film is easy, but learning what to make a film about is very hard. And that's true. This is one of the things he taught me, was you need to learn about the world, you need to learn about life, and you need to learn about psychology, and you need to learn about history and locations and biomes and elements of, like, the elements of science, meaning like terrains and all of that. Because when you really do understand all of that, you become a much better filmmaker because you have a lot more to be inspired of. You know, you can look at old, and he said, you know, old pieces of art and literature and all of that and books. And when you take all of that and you put time into all of that and you mold it together, you are 20 times, no, 100 times better of a filmmaker because you have so much more to make films about. Because you can be like, this conflict here or event or figure was really interesting. And I think that would be cool in this kind of a setting with this kind of world and these characters. And then you go make your plot. That's what I do. I don't just say, oh, well, I don't know what kind of movie to make, so I'm going to force myself to think of something random and stupid. No. I see a piece of art or I read a piece of history and I'm like, oh, and you get this idea in your head. And you're like, this is working. And instantly I go write it down. I'm like, okay, this is good. This just needs to be baked longer. You know, we got the ingredients. We got to bake it now. You know, and that's, and I'm really good. I'm really good at developing stories. I think that that's my strong suit, and coming up with stories. Because, again, that relates back to Star Wars, because that's what George taught me. And it is so true and so real. Again, learning about the world, learning, you know, diving into religion and realizing its importance and, you know, having that moral compass in every project. Even if it's super dark, that moral compass is still there because you have to show that the very dark people, you're gonna call me, very dark, meaning very morally dark people, they're bad. You know, for my short film that I'm making, my main character, you're gonna see the darker path he goes on, the worse he gets. And it's just evident, you know, it's very evident. And I did that on purpose because I'm like, that moral compass cannot be touched because that's what makes a movie real, and it makes it one that obeys God, and it really, that's important. That is something that I will never take away. There's no amount of money that could tell me, you know, strip that moral compass away. No way. Because that's what God told me. You know, I'm not going to just rip that compass away. That's going to be in every one of my movies. You know, it just is. Because you need to have a good moral compass. When people do bad things, they are bad. When people do good things, they're good. When people do middle things, they could go either way. You know, and that's what's cool. Is having that. And it's a defined moral structure. And that's great. You know, and that's what I hated about, one of the things I just hated about The Acolyte was there's no moral compass. Like, it was like Osha's being a terrible person and killing her mentor for her demon mom attacking him and him killing her is now all of a sudden a big issue. And it's like done in a way where she kills, I forgot his name already, Soul. And it's like this good thing. And that's what she said, a positive corruption arc. Like, that's just evil. Man, like, there's nothing positive about that. That's evil. And that's what George taught me. He's like, man, when you do something objectively bad, there's no way to argue around it. You know, like, that's just not a thing. It's not. And it's true. And he just tells the truth. Why? Because he's smart. He's such a smart person. He thinks. He really, again, shifted the film industry and the entire arts industry all at once with the way he learned and thought. And he was a philosopher. Really, when you think about it, like he was, with the way he told his stories. And people don't understand that. So, you know, again, like I said, that's just another connection is understanding different various aspects of life is huge. That's massive. So, you have that. And now I'm just going to go, what I'm doing here is I'm showing what Star Wars means to me. If you haven't caught on to that yet, I'm just going to make it clear. And I'm going through all my things that have really just shown me how important Star Wars is in my life. And I'm kind of proving a point that what these guys who kiss Lucasfilm's ass all the time and don't put time into the fandom and don't know anything and don't care, that I wouldn't call them fans. And the ones that are being hateful, they're not really fans either, because that's not what George would have done. That's not what God wants you to do. You don't want to, George follows God, therefore, George has a very well placed moral compass. So, when George made Star Wars, a lot of that is it's pretty well established. So you have these guys being horrible and saying things that aren't true and attacking. That's not, what Star Wars is. And it really shows me that, because there's just a certain kindness to all Star Wars fans that you don't see anywhere else. It's just like this brightness and like just love that you see in all of them, like the real ones. You see it in all of them, and it's just inextinguishable. So that's really a thing that helps me know and define fans, is because we just have something to live for. So we get angry and upset sometimes, but we don't hate. We're not like hateful. They are very exclusive and hateful, and that's selfish. And that's another thing George taught to me that was really revolutionary is, the dark side of the Force. It's just, people who use it, they're selfish and they crave power. They don't care about others. They're not compassionate. They just do everything for their own personal gain. And that's the dark side. And then you have the light side, where it's compassion, it's love, it's putting others in front of yourself, it's serving something other than you. All of that, that's the light side. And when I learned that, as simple as it may seem, it really showed me people in my life, and it showed me people in the fandom that I've really been able to find, where they stand, light side or dark side. And it's really, great. I love, being able to have that insight. It's amazing. And like I said, I don't want to hurt any of those people's feelings if they really do feel that inside. It's just, you have to at some point, again, pull these people's crap together, because you can't just be sending death threats and being a psychopath, without any kind of punishment or talking to or anything. Like, that's just insane. Did I want to shout out Carly King? No. But did I? Yeah, because I have to. Because this has gotten to a point that's insane, and I don't see any humanity in what they do. So moving on, back to, now that I clarified really what the point of me saying all this is, another reason why Star Wars has done for me is the way I'm able to connect with some of you guys who I've, met might have met, who knows, at conventions, and just literally walking around or in a coffee shop or whatever. Like meeting one of you guys, it's not even meeting, because someone sees my shirt, or I see their shirt, or whatever, instant connection. We just start talking. It is so weird. I've never had that with anyone. It's not like, no, what's your name? It's like, what did you think of the Acolyte? Or what did you think of... I remember this one distinct time. This guy just walks up to me. He goes, I really like your shirt. What do you think of... I think at the time it was like Mando Season 3. And then we just started talking. We were talking for like 10 minutes. I'm like, oh yeah, by the way, what's your name? Like 10 minutes in, then we introduce ourselves. It's like the coolest thing, being able to basically have an 8 million member extended family, to have who, I don't know how many Star Wars fans there are worldwide, but it's probably just a ridiculous number. Um, just everywhere, and knowing you have people who you can connect with everywhere, and knowing you have people who have the similar moral structure you do, and have people who really care about the same thing you do, it means a lot. And being able to talk to some of you guys, and brainstorm solutions with some of you guys, and really, it's so special, and that's something that, again, I don't really have anywhere else. I don't, there's nowhere where I've really connected like that before, where you're just, everyone is so kind, and everyone is, just so caring, and respectful, and you can tell that it lifts my day up high, it makes my day, and it makes theirs every time, and it's always, I remember almost all of their faces, all the people that I've talked to, and I'm sure they do, to me. It's like just part of the experience, of being a fan, is the fandom piece. And, online, it's not real. That's one thing I have to tell you. There's so many trolls, and so many bots, and so many just idiots online. It's not a good depiction of what the real fandom is. The real fandom is this huge family of people who love and adore this franchise, and have been spending every day since they were kids learning more about it and applying it to their lives. That's what this fandom is. And it's real, it's lovely, I've never had a bad experience talking to a fan before, It's just been nothing but joy. And, that's what's most important, is it's Star Wars to me. There's another thing George has spoken about, is the difference between joy and pleasure, and how they're completely different. Star Wars to me is genuine joy. It's not like a thing I get a hit off of. It's not like, I watch Star Wars as a drug. It's like consistent, genuine joy that will last through my entire lifespan. And again, no other franchise have I been this consistently connected to. Marvel, I've faded out a little, and it's fun, and I loved some of those characters. They're amazing. And I'm not trying to dog on Marvel, but it's just not the same. I love Marvel, and I love those characters in those worlds too, but this is just something else. And everyone who is a Star Wars fan has pretty much said this, that Marvel's fun, and it's nerdy, and it's exciting, and it's all these characters that have grown you too in different ways, but Star Wars is like the real deal, and that's how it is to a lot of people who have really dived into the franchise. But yeah, dude, just meeting you guys in person, talking to you guys, is literally like prevented me from, not prevented me, but like made me realize again, how important this is to me. Like it really shows that no matter what people say to me online, or no matter what kind of interactions I have online, none of that is real. And that's what I've been taught through that. And that's incredible. And I can't wait to, run into more of you. And it's always like random. You just, again, it's like I had like a 1 hour conversation with some dude that I never had seen in my life. He didn't even live in the country. He lived in Scotland. I had like a 1 hour conversation with him at Comic-Con. Where else can that happen? It just doesn't. Again, it's like, and it's not just people your age. You're talking to like people who saw the first one in theaters, and you're talking to people, like me, who grew up in 2008 Clone Wars era, and then you talk to people who, grew up with the prequel, during the prequels releasing, and then you grow up to people who, you know, you talk to people who grew up in like the like newer kids, you know, who kind of uh got into Star Wars through, you know, their parents, but the movies that they unfortunately were, you know, kind of their movies were the sequels. You know, for me it was Clone Wars. That was my thing, but the younger kids, you know, it's sequels and Disney Plus is their like childhood thing. You know, which I've talked to a few of them and they're like, not really to me. You know, they're like all like, oh yeah, the six, they're like the complete saga and Clone Wars like is really what's grown me and made me a fan. They're like, yeah, those sequels, while I have like some fond memories of going to the theaters and stuff, they're like, I don't connect with it that much. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. But you know, it's just weird. It's weird in just the most amazing way, because it's you just instantly connect and you instantly bond, and it's crazy, you know, just having, you know, hour plus long conversations with just random dudes or girls, whatever, that you run into is really lifting, and it shows that, you know, this isn't all a show. You know, I don't do this for a show. This is real to me, and I genuinely care. Um, you know, it's not just some obsession. It's part of me. You know, like it's just is. So, you know, that's one thing. And I already talked about, let's see, a lot of this stuff. You know, and then there's just, you know, I've talked about before, I'm not going to go far into it again, but just the life lessons, you know, Star Wars it teaches you about, you know, since episode 4, and the ways you're able to relate with the characters, unparalleled. And that has helped me more than you could possibly imagine. Like, you have no idea how many weird situations I've been in, and then all of a sudden that scene or that moment or that character clicks. I'm like, oh, someone else has been through this too. And getting that is, again, incredible and amazing. And to have all these people that have kind of been through the same crap as you, or the same goodness as you, or people have the same moral compass as you, or you know, people have completed their journeys that you now get to watch and learn from, it's just such a gift. It really is. Being a Star Wars fan, it's more, fan isn't even I don't even know what to call it. It's something totally, you know, it's beyond a fan. You know, I'm beyond that point of being calling a fan. You know, like it's just so real. You know, and then getting a message telling you that you've been, you know, invited to go see the premiere of the 5th episode of Ahsoka randomly in English class, you know, by this, you know, after you've said so much and critiqued so much, was so just amazing. And I went and saw it, and it was just a beautiful experience every step of the way. The episode, the people I met, the, you know, going to the theater, the excitement of knowing I'm gonna see Anakin Skywalker for a majority of this episode. It's something, you know, I never thought I'd actually be looking forward to. Yeah, I didn't think it would ever happen. So it's like, getting that excitement is something I didn't feel before. You know, I was just like theorizing with people around me, like, about everything. I was like, this could happen, that could happen. You know, everyone has their sabers, they're all dressed up. Was incredible. You know, and then when it finished, I was just in shock. Like, I had no idea what I just saw. I was like, this is just, it was, again, it taught me something that it was the weirdest thing. Because I'm telling you, I was currently going through the problem Ahsoka was. the whole lesson that Anakin taught Ahsoka, I was dealing, doing the same thing Ahsoka was. The whole live or die message of that episode. It was a problem I was having where I felt like I wasn't, enjoying every day, and I wasn't living every day to its potential, and I was looking at everything in a negative light, and I just at that point in time I was just so defeated. I don't know why, but it was just the people around me were awful. Not there. I'm talking about at school and non-Star Wars people. They're just some people they're just awful. And they treat you like crap, and they treat you unfairly, and they use you, and it's like all the just typical day-to-day life, just bad people. And I just started looking at the so gray and stormy. And while Anakin was teaching Ahsoka that message, he literally was teaching me at the same time. And that was like the weirdest, like most supernatural experience I've ever experienced. Like it was just so perfectly timed and so like well prepared and like it's just the chances are zero. And it was so cool because it was Anakin Skywalker teaching me how to overcome a challenge that I'm going through. And I saw it happen, and I followed the same steps. I looked at things the way he taught, and I got out of it. I'm telling you that Star Wars is like it is beyond fun and games. Like this literally got me through a mental health problem. Like stuff is real, man. Like, oh my gosh, that was legitimately the most just shaking, like just religious experiences I've had probably ever. Like it was just so clearly done at that moment for me. I know, you know what I mean by that. Like it was just, and I needed to be in that atmosphere too, because it's just the immersion of being in a theater and being with all your fellow fans, and it was just, yeah, it's one of the best things I've ever done, and easily one of the coolest things I've ever experienced. I also went to the Acolyte one, and that was, the projector shut off 4 times, and that was just a foretelling of what was to come, and the guy hosting it was a complete shill. So, that was just some foreshadowing, but, that wasn't, the same experience as this was. This was just, as the Ahsoka one was insane. That whole show to me really was super well put together, and the messages of that show were very morally straight, and it felt like the Force was the forefront of the show, and it had this very like quasi like religious feel that I loved from that series, and Dave pretty much has in most of his projects, so it was really cool. And there were a lot of messages from that show that you could use in your day-to-day life, and it was just, I loved Baylan, and I loved, seeing Anakin, and I loved seeing Ahsoka. It was just so cool, and then seeing Chopper and Ezra, and that show was just, that was it, man. I can't wait for that season 2, dude. Just, yeah, so great. But yeah, and you have all that deep stuff that is personal and religious and all of that. Then you have the just fun of it, of Star Wars, like Darth Vader, and he's cool, and Luke Skywalker and Anakin and the clone troopers, and being like, oh, that helmet's so cool, or that blaster's so cool, or what is this planet? This planet's so new. You're like, you go to this new planet for the first time and you're like, what the heck is this place? Who are the people here? And you have all these different aliens and creatures and flora and fauna and lightsaber designs and like all that stuff. And the stories within the planets and the storyline and all the characters within the storyline and, you know, just the basic just stuff about the lore and the story and the universe of Star Wars, or the worlds of Star Wars, whatever you want to call it. That alone is just amazing and so fun to be involved with. Because everyone has their niche, you know, like kind of their Star Wars area that they love, or you know, if they live on a planet and be part of this faction, you know, we all have that kind of niche. You know, for me in Star Wars, you know, I don't, you know, agree with the morals of the dark side, but I think the characters are just sick. You know, they're cool. You know, Vader is awesome. You know, it's just fun to see them, you know, kick ass. You know, it's just really cool to see. But morally, religiously, I connect with the Jedi, obviously. But, you know, in terms of costume design and, you know, planetary looks and, you know, kind of vibe, I think the Sith and the Empire more specifically are kind of my thing. It's really cool. But, you know, some of us are like, oh, you know, I'm like Vader sitting in my castle on Mustafar. Some of us are like, I'm Ewok in Endor. Some of us are like, I love Coruscant, like me. I love that too. You know, like I just picture myself out in that galaxy as like a Jedi in Coruscant, you know, with all the speeders and stuff whizzing by me. It's like you get, or some people are like, oh, I'm a rebel on Hoth, you know, fighting the Empire. It's like you get all that, like, that's what I mean by niches. We have all these things that just feel like kind of home to us and are so thrilling and exhilarating and new and different. And, you know, that's just crazy. It is just so, it's so cool, dude. Like the whole story and how it intertwines and cross references and just the awe of seeing those amazingly choreographed saber duels. You know, it's just in the prequels, you know, the music, you know, John Williams and how he kind of plays the Force pretty much for a lot of Star Wars, and, you know, just having those pieces that kind of hit you home and have been, you know, kind of played alongside you your whole life. Like for me, the Imperial March is like the most nostalgic piece for me, because that's when I've been playing in the, you know, car and all over the place since I was a kid, you know, like little kid, like 3-4 years old, you know. And I still remember the I like first generation iPod that I had it on, and we just kept playing it over and over again. You know, it was that, and it was the main title theme. Those two were just constantly playing. And the Force theme, that was another one. Yoda's theme and Duel of the Fates. Those were and then later on it was Anakin versus Obi-Wan, Battle of the Heroes. Those were all the like pieces that I kind of grew up with and loved just constantly. And, you know, I love all of the music and you know, all the John Williams Star Wars music is amazing no matter where it's from. You know, he just is such a talented guy. So I'm very excited to see the documentary called Music by John Williams. That is actually going to be in theaters for a limited run, and it's going to be on Disney Plus November 1st. So I'm super excited for that. That'll be really fun, and you know, I'm definitely seeing it in theaters. I hope that they do a kind of premiere fan event thing for that, because I will be there, and that'll just be a really wholesome, probably, experience and full circle experience to see, you know, how he's done things, and, you know, seeing him and George and speak. It's like, it's gonna be heavy, I think, for me. So I'm excited for that. So yeah, you have all that stuff. Then you have like merchandise, and you're like, oh, I love looking at all the new merchandise drops and all the new things they're inventing and books they're making, or books I haven't even gotten to books, and helmets and sabers, and then seeing fans go and make the best sabers on the market. Theorysabers.com, check it out. Theory just blew it out of the park with those things, man. They're so beautiful and accurate and just incredible. You need to go check them out. And those are the best on the market. And they're not even official Lucasfilm. That shows the power of dedication, and that man is, I love him, man. He's such a positive force for good in, Star Wars. And without him, who knows where the fandom would be, because he was a big piece for me in getting kind of an audience online that I was able to connect with and watch regularly that I didn't really have before. And I think it was like spring of 2018, and that was where I came upon Theory and where it all started. The online Star Wars piece for me started then, so that was cool. And also the beginning of very busy, crazy, I guess, times, and that's fun. The online stuff is fun too. Obviously, I prefer the personal in-person interactions, but online, it's just fun sometimes, man, because you can just be crazy, meaning like, just you just have fun, you be silly, you talk you talk crap with people in comments sections, like all that stuff. It's fun, not being mean and sending death threats, but like just little like kind of this, you have some of that. I don't know, it's fun, or you all like go and just chat about the movies, and you're like just completely geeking out with everyone. It's so cool. So you have all that, and then you have the parks, and meaning Disneyland for me. So I'm a California local. Being 30 minutes away from Disneyland again is such a gift, and I love that. That's amazing. And that has been another thing that's kind of, again, brings together all the Star Wars fans and brings together kind of all the ideas of Star Wars and puts you there. Like, I'm literally, this isn't VR, this isn't a video game, this isn't a movie, I'm walking in Star Wars. That was the craziest experience. I remember going on Star Tours for the first time, and I literally thought I was there. Like, legitimately was convinced, I was little too, that we were like shot to Star Wars land. Like, I literally, like, it was so real. It was just crazy. And walking through the line, seeing C-3PO, just standing there doing, some kind of work on the Star Speeder, and seeing R2 in the hatch. It's just crazy. And if you look up, actually, there's Mon Calamari in the control room, which is cool. And then walking through the droid maintenance bay and seeing all the Easter eggs everywhere, and the, shadows of the passengers kind of walking across that blue screen, if you know what I'm talking about. It's just so immersive. It's crazy, and it feels like I'm there. I'm like, oh, and it too. It's like you get this, you love this thing so much, but like you can't step into it, and then when you go to Disneyland, you do, and it's like the most rewarding and, again, strange experience ever, dude. Like being in Star Tours, which George helped create. He had a massive role in making that a reality. He's actually the reason it happened too, so it's amazing. Then you have Galaxy's Edge. Oh my goodness, where you're not just in a starfighter in a starfight. Now you're on a planet. You're part of the story. You're like in it, like in it, like canon, you're canon in Star Wars. Like that is how real that experience is. Walking up to see the Millennium Falcon and then walking in the line and piloting it. Who in a million years thought you could just go sit and pilot the Falcon? Like, that's just insane. And then Rise of the Resistance and how ridiculously good that ride is, and it's crazy. I mean, you're like, again, canon, you're part of the story. You're helping the Resistance, get where they need to be. But then, you get captured and you have to get out, and it's this whole thing. And again, you're involved with that. You're part of that story. Or they implemented this new thing where on the Play Disney Parks app, you could pick a side, and then throughout the line, you're working with the First Order to give them hints of, where the Resistance is, and you give them locations and intel on all their weapons and stuff. And then when you finish, you're the one who gave them enough information to attack the Resistance in the midst of the, troop transport thing, leaving Batuu. So then you're responsible for that happening. So it's like you can pick sides and be a spy for the First Order or be with the Resistance. Like, it's just so amazing. Then you just walk around, you see Boba Fett, and you see Mando, and you see Kylo Ren, and you see stormtroopers, and you, talk to them, and it's this real in-universe, thing. And you go to a cantina where it's, has the Huttese music and the lingo in Galaxy's Edge, it's just so cool. But yeah, and I just want to wrap this up with a thank you to George and everyone else who really built this thing ground up, and thank them for how much it means to us in the world. It's just been such a positive force for good, beyond just the dry, it's a cool movie franchise in space. It's so much more than that, as I've enlightened you guys with. It's just beyond just the space franchise. It's words couldn't describe it. What exactly it is it's Star Wars. That's what it is. It's a world of ideas and collection of stories and worlds and characters, and I don't know, it's something different, so this is what a real fan thinks of Star Wars. So with that in mind, I think this is a fine line of someone who cares for the franchise and wants it to grow, and what it's done for me, and you see that now. And now, I want you guys, when you're done watching, to think of how it's impacted you and how it's helped you and how it's influenced your life. And I want you to think about it. I want you to write it down and reflect. And it just really makes you realize that, if people are calling you toxic and people are calling you whatever, or, you just want to kind of see how much of an impact it really has made on you, it's a big eye-opener, and so that's really cool. So thank you guys so much for watching. This was a great video that I wanted to make. So yeah, that's really all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed, appreciated it. Appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for watching and spending time here. It means a lot to me, and it means, shows that I have a voice, and that's more than anything I could ask for. So I love you guys. Go reflect, and see you in the next video. Till the next time, may the force be with you always.